Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Simone Bailly Show. I'm your host. If this is your first time tuning in, thanks for joining. I'm an actress from TV and film, and you may recognize me from such TV shows as Stargate SG-1, Smallville, The L Word, Battlestar Galactica, and I also played Sergeant Cross's police partner in the video game Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. I have a very special show for you today. I will be interviewing celebrity Twitch and YouTube streamer, speedrunner, and racing enthusiast, KuruHS. But before I bring out my fabulous guest, I want to send some love out to all of my subscribers. Thank you all so much. I'm really grateful for all of your awesome comments. I read all of them, and I appreciate your support. And before we get started, do me a favor. If you haven't already, please click that like button and be sure to subscribe to my channel and share this stream so others can enjoy this as well. I'm really excited, you guys. This is episode 12 of the Simone Bailly Show. We have over 25 countries tuning in right now, all over the world. And since I started the show back in April 2020, I have had the pleasure of interviewing several actors and people who worked on the Need for Speed franchise and other video games, as well as TV and movies. And I am thrilled for my guest today, who is a highly successful video game streamer who plays primarily racing games, one of his favorites being Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. He even has his own special version of the game, and we will be talking about that as well. Kuru joins us today from Vienna, Austria. Today, I have him back on the show for our first sit-down one-on-one interview where we'll get to know more about him and his career, and we'll also take some questions from the live chat in just a bit. All right, are you guys ready? Dun, 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 dun. I'm excited to introduce my featured guest today. Please give a very warm welcome to KuruHS. Hi, Kuru. How are you?
Hey there. Doing really good. Just came off my stream and right into the next one.
Yeah.
What else do you want?
Yeah, you were playing Flat Out 2.
Yep, exactly. Rather remaster of it. Ultimate Carnage. Basically the same game with even more content. Very, very fun game. Very recommendable.
Nice.
Sure.
Yeah, I was checking it out. There was some interesting thing with a guy being hurled into a swimming pool. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that was one of the mini games. Other than just racing, you also have like those mini games where you like skipping of the pool or curling, darts, poker, bowling. Super fun.
Oh, cool. I like it. So I want to get to know more about you and let everyone watching get to know more about you. So I want to start at the beginning. I'm curious, where did you grow up and what were you like when you were younger?
Depends how young. So you gotta give me like an age range, and I can tell you what I did at that time.
As a kid.
When did I stop being a kid? No, so I grew up near to Vienna in Lower Austria. That's where I was brought up with my two siblings, brother, sister. Sister is 3 years younger than me, brother 5 years younger than me. I'm 31, and well, my childhood. Let me think. It's always hard to where do I start? I mean, let's go to grade school. Like one of the first things that I really caught an interest in was like mathematics, and just numbers was something that I just really enjoyed. And it was basically just that, because everything else in grade school I really didn't like that much, especially just like basic German, like just writing, reading. It wasn't really that much for me, but numbers did it for me. Like I like numbers a lot. And afterwards, just
German is your first language, right?
Yeah. English is the only other language that I ever learned. But even that was for a very long time really complicated for me, because, as I said, I wasn't really good at languages in grade school. So when I then went on to elementary school, I think, or is that like high school? Right? What's right before high school?
Well, some people have middle school, but I'm from Canada, and Canada actually we start grade 8 to 12 And one of the provinces, Quebec, they do grade 13, which is crazy.
Yeah. So let's say it was middle school, right? And it was like the first time ever where I was about to fail one of my grades because my English was so bad that I couldn't even pass that year. Because in Austria, if there's like one subject where you basically fail, you have to redo the entire year. And in that summer where I was about to fail, because you always get like a second chance, you get like a final exam at the end of the summer vacation, where if you pass that, you can move on to the next year. And that basically baffled my English teacher back then, because in those 3 months of summer vacation, I did nothing but English. Like I turned my phone, my games, my PC, my TV shows, I turned everything to English. Like nothing that I interacted with on a daily basis was German anymore. And I just subjected myself to pure 100% English every single day. And then, I came back to school, did that test, aced it with an A, and afterwards I was an A student for English too. Funnily enough, as my English got better, my German also got better, because in German as well, like I wasn't really that interested in languages and like writing properly interesting things. It just wasn't for me. And just because my English improved, my German improved with it, because I learned all that grammar in English, and I kind of learned from the base up how to properly speak and everything. And it actually improved my German too, which was a very interesting experience. But yeah, back then I was already like a heavy gamer. Like middle school already, like my dad had its own PC company, so I had really early access to a PC as well as the internet, like all the way back in 1995. So I was always very, let's say, stuck to the screen. That didn't really change that much since then, but I diversified a little bit in regards to my interests.
I think it's so cool how, looking back, you can always connect the dots, and it all kind of like very purposeful, and you don't realize it at the time, but then it's like, oh, that totally makes sense. That's really cool. So speaking about your younger life, I saw a video on your YouTube channel, and you had you were very open about a life transformation, a very healthy lifestyle transformation that you went through. Do you mind talking about that? Because I find that really impressive. It's a great story.
Can you give me like which video you're talking about, so I get an idea what we're talking about right now?
Your weight loss. You changed.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
That
one. Because I didn't know anything about that, and I was really shocked, because like I've only met you, recently.
Yeah, that was one of the first things. So it was right after finished high school. That was like the first time where I had like time for myself and actually work on myself, because I was done with school. I didn't have the stress anymore of having to perform for school and get the grades and do all of that stuff. So for the first time in my life, I was able to like concentrate on the things that I wanted to improve, which was my weight, because at the time I was about 100 kilos, and so massively overweight. What is that, like 210 pounds or something?
220, I think. Yeah,
220. Like it's a lot, especially if you're like 1.8 meters. That is quite a lot. If you have like no muscle and it's just fat, like it was not very healthy. And that was at the same time when I also started my first job, because I was like, okay, so for the first time in life, I don't have to study, because at that point, I just had so much school behind me in a row, like all the way from 6 to 19, just school all the time. I was like, for the first time, I can take a break, earn money, buy whatever I want, and concentrate on things that I want. Mm-hmm. And yeah, during that weight loss, which was basically based on no carbs, worked really good for me. I can only recommend, like, if you're stuck with diets that don't work for you, try that. Because that was the only thing that really worked for me, because it also made sense with the things that I like to eat. Like I really like to eat meat with some vegetables, or fish with some vegetables. Like I always enjoyed that. I was okay with not eating potatoes or noodles, and so it was kind of easy for me to adapt to exactly that diet. I just took it more strictly. The hardest thing was probably no sugar, because that's also obviously a carb. That was probably the hardest thing in the beginning, but like after the first 2 weeks, when you're really used to it, it's kind of nice, because you lose that hunger feel. And then you just eat because you think in your mind, well, I haven't eaten for about a day. I should probably eat something. Things your body actively starts burning your fat cells for energy. And when you get used to that, you kind of forget to eat unless you kind of remind yourself about it. So it was really effective. And I lost 30 kilos in 3 months, which was insane considering I was basically fat for my entire life. Like the last time I was skinny was probably right before I got into school. I think when I was 5 years old. Like when I was 6 and I started school, I was already overweight.
Well, congrats. I think that's awesome. And like, you look amazing. And but most importantly, that you feel great and that you're healthy.
Yeah, it was quite eye-opening, like how good you can feel. And another thing was that I wasn't sick anymore. Like while I was overweight, I was sick all the time. Like every single winter, multiple times, fairly heavily sick, had to stay at home, couldn't go to school, couldn't go to university. And it was eye-opening to see like how nice it can be just being in a more healthy body, so to say.
Yeah, well, you got to put good fuel in the tank, so to
exactly.
Speak. Yeah. So, yeah, I hear you. That's awesome.
I mean, it was basically I just tried to do the exact opposite what I've been doing before, which I used to just eat, mountains of noodles and nothing else, right? Like there's no protein in that diet other than, a few grams that are in the noodles, but yeah, it's horrible. Like it wrecks your body.
I just taught myself how to make ramen, and I'm like killing it in the ramen game, like the homemade ramen game. But yeah, you just kind of inspired me that maybe I should.
But yeah, I combined it back then. While I was at work, it was kind of easy because at work there was this cantina where you can just pick a certain meal, and it was like don't put leave the potatoes, give me more vegetables, right? Or leave the noodles, give me more vegetables. And I always had like some kind of fish or meat with vegetables. It was super easy because I didn't have to cook for myself. And since I wasn't really hungry, I was basically just eating that one time in cantina every day. And I wasn't really hungry for the rest of the day. So I basically had like one meal a day. And it did put me into a pretty strong calorie deficit. Like on average, I was probably 2,000 calories in a deficit per day, because otherwise you can't lose 30 kilos in 3 months. Just if you math it out, right? You need about 7,000 calories in the deficit to lose like a kilo of body weight, or body fat in that case. So that's kind of how it worked out. And yeah, it was a very, very interesting experience. And I would obviously do it again. I mean, if I could do it again, I would probably not get fat in the first place. And I would make sure that my diet is a little bit better in the beginning. Yeah. But yeah, it worked and put me definitely on a better path in general.
Awesome. I find that story very inspiring. And for those of you who haven't seen it, go to his channel and check that out after. I'm also curious, when you were younger, what did you think you wanted to be when you grow up?
Well, I mean, at a very young age, I think it's like the usual stuff that you hear from like parents and friends all the time. It's like policeman, fireman, and doctor. Like those three things. Right?
Doctor, lawyer. Doctor, lawyer, I guess, yeah.
Okay, lawyer was not one of them, but it was fireman, policeman, doctor. Like those three things were the things that at least I remember still after all this time. But to be honest, after that, childish phase, I didn't really have a plan or a desire to become anything in particular.
Okay.
There was a lot of just living a life as it comes to you and see what happens.
I like that. That's totally great. I read somewhere that you did want to be a car racer. Is that true?
That is true. That was also at a younger age. Kind of forgot about that. It was after that phase of the 3 first jobs where I wanted to, actually start racing, because I had the chance to drive a go-kart when I was younger. I really liked it, and I wanted to do more of that. But my parents.
I do that now. I wish we could. Karting right now, that'd be awesome.
That would be super fun. But yeah, my parents couldn't really afford basically me being a racing driver, or starting to learn being a professional race driver. Like it costs a lot of money to get someone properly, educated and trained to become a race driver. It just costs a lot of money. We didn't have that kind of money, and so that dream could never be, like, let's say, pursued.
Have you ever been in a race car, either driving or a passenger on a real racetrack, out of curiosity?
Actually, no. Actually, no. I mean, I've driven some fast cars, but none of them would be considered a race car, nor was it on a racetrack.
Okay. See, when you come over to LA, next time you're in the hood, we'll put you in either our friend's BMW M3 GTR or the
that sounds like fun.
That's going to be converted to the Cross Corvette.
Oh, that one
with the real NASCAR driver.
Any updates on that?
You know what? I really hope to. I bet they're watching now. So hi, guys. But I'm hoping to have them on the show down the road. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll see. Maybe I can invite you back on that, and we can chat about those cars, because I'm pretty excited about that. Those guys. For those of you who don't know, they replicated the BMW M3 and from Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, and then they are about to replicate Cross's police car with this Corvette as well. So yeah,
very cool.
To meet them and have Dean and I sign the dash, and I'm hoping that Dean can pinstripe the BMW. So that would be pretty cool. Curious, where did you go to university and what did you study?
University of Vienna and biology, because that was basically what I did in high school. Like, it was chemistry-based high school, and within that I specialized in biology. So I basically just continued what I did in high school, because natural sciences, that was kind of like the logical continuation of the math stuff that I had initially. Because when I was in middle school, I noticed, hey, chemistry is pretty cool. And that's really like the only reputable school here in Vienna. It's called Rosensteingasse. And yeah, that's basically where I spent my high school years, and did a lot of chemistry, did a lot of biology, microbiology, and yeah, a bunch of genetic stuff too. And it basically just continued in university, and then did the same thing in university for bachelor's, and it was interesting. I did it, but then when I got my first job after university, it just was really boring, because I ended up in a job where I just was doing the same thing every day, every week, and it was slowly killing me inside.
Oh, well, that's
it was not something that I could see myself for the long run. I mean, I kind of knew it after 2 weeks. But I actually stayed in there for 6 months, because after 6 months you get extra benefits when you quit. So I definitely abused that. I played the game there.
Yeah,
for sure. Because basically after 6 months you get access to vacation days, and if you quit after those 6 months, they have to pay out those vacation days, right? So, and those vacation days are overpaid too by 50%, because it's a vacation day and you didn't take a vacation. I get a pretty nice severance check from my first job there. And, that basically just gives us also the transition for like my streaming, because the reason why I quit in the first place at that particular time, first of all, the 6 months were over, so I had the extra benefits. But on the other hand, at that very time, I had my first really successful YouTube video, and I wanted to ride the momentum, because I had all of a sudden had 100,000 views on one of my videos. And I was like, there's so many eyes on me right now. I have to utilize this. Yeah, over 100,000 on like a video in a few days. Like I saw the viewer count to just go up by 20,000 or 25,000 every day, and within 4 days it was at 100,000. And that was the time where I basically called in sick at work, and I just stayed at home and started streaming, because I knew the iron is hot right now, and I have to utilize on this as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that not only the YouTube video was successful, but also the streams were successful, like the initial ones, I basically quit that week.
Wow, that's crazy, and for the right reasons.
Yeah, I mean, it was the only thing that made sense to me because, I kind of understood how, the influence works, like and how attention works, just noticing I did something that people are interested in and they want it right now. So there's no room for waiting here.
Yeah.
I saw people were interested in it. I just had to go for it. And I did because, as I said, I had those 6 months of work. I know I get the benefits. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take that money that I just earned. And the next 3 months, I have enough money to pay all of my bills, right? So at least for the next 3 months, I'm going to go all in on that streaming thing because I know I can pay my bills. Like if it doesn't work out, okay, I've tried it. And I did try it, at the peak of my attention. From my viewership. If I can make it now, I'm probably not going to be making it ever, right? So I was like, go all in now, turn everything else off, just do it, see if you can pull it off. And it did work.
Nice.
That was the last time I had a, let's say, regular job, right?
Good instinct. What video games did you play growing up?
A bunch. I remember my first console was a Nintendo 64.
Mm-hmm.
And the first games that I had were like Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Diddy Kong Racing was another one that I remember. Mario Party. Didn't have a PlayStation 1, so I was a Nintendo kid back then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
And I think a whole bunch of other games that were back then on the Nintendo 64. But as I said, like a year later or so, like my dad gave us our first personal computer, our first PC, and I was playing like my first Need for Speed that he bought for himself. Like he bought himself Need for Speed 3, Hot Pursuit, one of the very first ones. It was the third game in the series.
That's so cool.
Like he bought them for himself, and I was like, hey, this is cool, can I play it? And then, well, I played it, and I played it a lot more than he did. And then when the next one came out, Need for Speed 4, High Stakes, like he barely played it, like I mostly did.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun.
That's so great. What was the first game that you finished front to back?
That is a really good question because it's really a really tough one. One thing I definitely know, because I was 6 years old when the Nintendo 64 came out, and I didn't finish most of the games. Like I went back, looked at my cartridges, like all of these save files, they were never finished. They didn't see the final boss. They didn't finish the entire games because you're just too young. You don't really understand how to finish a game at that point. With 6 years, I'm not sure how clever 6-year-olds are nowadays, but I'm not sure too many 6-year-olds can finish Mario 64. Like that game actually requires you to have really good hand-eye coordination and then get all the way to the end boss. I'm not sure a lot of people could do that. Well, then again,
it is easier for a lot of people because people like you, content creators, start to lay out tricks to like scheme the game a little easier, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just wondering myself. It would be amazing to like go back and have like a video camera set up and just see what I did back then. But I remember I did play a lot of Pokemon on my first Game Boy because that was the very first handheld console that I had was a Game Boy Color all the way back, which was like one you hold on the bottom and you have the screen on the top, right? And I think on that, like my very first game I ever played was Tetris and Super Mario Bros. Yeah, not Super Mario Land. I think it was called on the Game Boy. But yeah, those were the very first games.
Tetris is an important game for life, also, because hacking. You're like, I gotta Tetris this stuff.
That is true. Yeah, every time I have to go to my fridge, it is tiny. Like you always have to Tetris our food into the fridge. Love this new flat. Moved in here like 10 months ago. Mm-hmm. And everything's great. Just the fridge is too small. If they would just remove the freezing compartment of the fridge, it would have a lot more space, because we do have a separate freezer, a deep freezer separately. But there's also one in the fridge, and it's super small, and there's barely any space in there.
Yeah, you need a spare fridge, like the Han Solo and Kryptonite fridge you can buy.
Yeah, exactly, something like that.
Something like that. Walk me through an average day for you.
Well, I don't use alarms for the most part. Like, I like to sleep until I just wake up naturally.
Yes.
That's super important to me personally, because I feel horrible if I get woken up by an alarm and my body isn't ready yet. Then you just feel pretty crappy for the rest of the day. So whenever possible, I try to not use an alarm. And yeah, after I wake up, I have a few rituals. One of them is like lime juice with ginger and some water. That's just my rehydration drink in the morning.
Yeah.
And yeah, after that, I usually have my workout. I try to work out every second day, especially now that the gyms are closed. I try to just do it from home, just some body weight exercises. And yeah, so it's usually 7 workouts every 2 weeks, when you do it like every 2 days. So you have like those 2 weeks that start repeating themselves. Mm-hmm. Since the gyms are closed, at least in our place here, I don't know how it is in yours right now.
Well, I'm in Los Angeles right now, and the U.S. Is whatever, heavily trying to vaccinate everyone very quickly because we're out of control. But
yeah,
I believe the gyms are closed right now.
Okay. I mean,
I don't know though. Because
Austria is doing that well either. I mean, our infection rate aren't definitely not as high as the US, but our vaccination rate is really terrible. Like we don't even have like 5% of the population vaccinated right now. Like it's really bad.
Wow.
But yeah, I was actually really heavy into the gym again right before Christmas, when the lockdown started up again, because at that point our infection rates were 4 times as high as they are right now. So it made sense. But yeah, it's still taking a lot of time for the infection numbers to go down again after it was so high. And yeah, gyms are going to be closed for quite some time.
I actually take back what I said, because I think one of my friends who lives in Vegas said that his gym is open right now.
Okay.
Vegas is
maybe it depends on a state-by-state basis.
Yeah, I don't know. So when you do have a day off, what do you do? Like, what are your hobbies?
Well, to be honest, I don't really have any particular hobbies, mostly because we are stuck at home. So there's not anything specific that I like to do right now.
Like
it's mostly just learning about new things that I'm interested in, just some random YouTube channels about whatever topic, right? Whatever strikes my fancy. But yeah, mostly when I have a day off, I like to spend it with my girlfriend, Lisa, because that's really the days where I do have a lot of time and where I'm not occupied with preparing for the stream, do the stream, and then do extra work after the stream.
Yeah.
So I do like to spend the time with her on the free days.
Mm-hmm. And you stream 6 days a week, right? For about hours a day.
Yeah, it's on average. I mean, I looked it up. Like in the last 4 years, I think on average it's 6 days a week and 7 hours a day.
Wow.
And that's just the streaming time. So there's a lot of hours that get into it.
And do you break during that 7 hours to eat, or like or do you just not eat, or you have snacks? Like
the thing is, I usually eat most of my food right before the stream, because then the stream doesn't really get interrupted. Sure, take a toilet break here and there, but other than that, no major breaks really. Just I eat what I need to eat before the stream as much as I can. Yeah. Obviously, sometimes there's going to be snacks, but most of the time I eat before, then just do my thing. And really at that point, it's usually like 11 p.m. or so. So not really a point anymore to eat anything after the stream either. Then at that point, it's just, take a shower, brush your teeth, go to bed, do whatever else needs to be done.
Yeah. And before you stream, since you're doing the same type of thing, you're playing, video games every day, basically. Do you set goals for yourself? Like, how do you break up the, perhaps monotony of your job?
I mean, I don't necessarily set goals to do certain things. It's really just whatever strikes my fancy, and it's also a lot of talk with my community, what they're interested in right now, like what's trending right now, what I like to do, what they want to see. So it's more about flexibility, seeing what is relevant right now, basically, for me, for my community, or just in a general sense. Yeah. And I don't really have any particular goal where I'm like, I want that amount of subscribers, I want that amount of viewers. I don't think it's that important. Like, I would rather concentrate on the quality rather than numbers in that case, actually. Although I do like numbers, I don't think those numbers are really not that important.
I really enjoy your content and you as a person. Like, having met you, I find you so authentic and funny, and just like, it's just really cool to watch your stream.
Thank you so much.
I can see why you're so popular.
I mean, it's a lot easier to be authentic, It's a lot more difficult trying to fake a personality over 7 hours a day, 6 days a week. Like, that is exhausting. Like, you can't be authentic. I mean, you must be authentic if you work so many hours. Like, because I don't think I could fake being someone else for such a long time without getting absolutely crazy or exhausted and just drop dead from exhaustion. I just don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely seen streams like that where people try to be someone else, or try to be extra funny or extra excited, and they can't keep it up. Like, they do it for a little bit and then it drops off immediately, and everyone is like, what happened? Like, he was like this and now he's like this. What happened? Right? So it's a lot easier to just be yourself and, improve yourself as a person and as an entertainer. And you can still stay authentic, right? If you just improve yourself and then you still do what you always do and you be yourself, then you're going to improve the content too, without trying to, like, for a short period of time, be someone else, rather become someone else. And then you have that permanently on a consistent basis, and it's not going to be exhausting. It's going to be easy. Yeah.
That's really cool. What would you say is the coolest thing about your job?
Nobody is going to be actually angry if I'm late. Because that was definitely one of my problems that I had with my old job. I was always late, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and they were always like, everyone is here on time, why are you not on time? This is really unprofessional, and we can't keep this up, this is not okay. And I was like, fuck you, man. like it really matters. It doesn't really matter if I'm here 5 minutes early or not. Or I was the kind of person that arrives exactly at 9, right? Like, everyone is there like a few minutes early so they can start at 9. I'm there at 9 because my work starts at 9, and I just really hated being on time. I was like, this it's not that important, The work is still gonna be done, and it's not effectively changed the outcome of that day's work. So I was just really annoyed that people always get so angry when I was late.
I think the reason why is, like, I know a ton of people, and I've adopted this too, is like, it's a good rule of thumb to try to be 15 minutes early. Also because you never know traffic or whatever, but I think it's also because so that they kind of have the attendance check and they don't have to worry if you're going up or not. Like, I think that's actually why
it's just something that I'm really bad at. I'm really bad at being punctual, It's just not for me, especially for me, quality is more important than punctuality. Like, if something is not working with my streaming setup and something isn't perfect, I don't want to be fixing the problems as I already started the stream. Like, I would rather spend an extra half hour making sure everything works, and then I start the stream, rather than starting on time, and then everyone is sitting around on their ass for 30 minutes waiting for me to fix everything. Like that is much worse in my opinion. So
That's smart.
that's why, you know, I regularly am late by a few minutes, half an hour, a full hour sometimes when it's necessary, right?
Yeah.
So just that flexibility, that's probably the best thing about my job. I don't have anyone that I have to report to. I do the things the way I want to do them, and that's very liberating, and wouldn't trade it for many things else.
Oh, the audio is cutting out a little bit. I don't know why. Can you
Did you hear me?
Oh, I can't hear you for some reason.
You can't hear me.
Now I can. We're back.
Okay, yeah.
It's so funny. We were just talking about that, like things get, you know,
Yeah.
and then all it happens. I'm curious because you drive, right?
Yep.
Do you have a car?
I don't. To be honest, I did sell the last car that I had right when I started streaming, because I knew I was going to be at home a lot and I'm not going to need a car. And as I started streaming, I wasn't making any reasonable amount of money. As I said, you know, the first 3 months was me trying to build it up as much as possible so that after 3 months, I can keep paying the bills. So I sold my car because I didn't want that financial burden on myself. So basically, when I quit my job, I also sold my car because I wasn't going to use it a lot because I would be at home streaming all the time.
How do you guys get your groceries?
Just walk out, walk out the door. Yeah. It's like right now, I think it's like 2 minutes away from here. Maybe 3 minutes if you count the elevator ride.
I'm curious, what's your dream car?
Dream car. So it's a very, very cheap car. It's basically a prototype that you can only drive on the Ferrari test track. It's the Ferrari FXX-K. So just for you so you know, basically you pay Ferrari a few million euros, so you're allowed to use their car on the specific track on certain days, and that's it. Like you can't take that car with you or anything. Like they keep the car, they do all their measurements and everything. You go there, you drive the car, and the car goes right back to Ferrari, and it looks absolutely insane. I love the way it looks, and you know how it is built for performance only. And yeah, my favorite car right now.
That's cool. I'm gonna have to look that up because I actually don't know what that looks like.
Well, it's basically, you know, it basically tried to do, you know, the Ferrari F word, right? So the Ferrari FXX-K, right? that was their way of, you know, being funny.
Wow, that's so awesome. You have over 147,000 subscribers on YouTube and over 125,000 followers on Twitch. What got you into streaming, and did you have a mentor, or was it something you just kind of figured out on your own?
I mean, I did have a mentor, but not a direct one. You know, I was basically watching a bunch of other streamers that did it before me. So I wasn't, you know, being directly taught from someone how to do it. It was just me copying what other people did and just seeing what is successful. Like there were a whole bunch of other people that definitely influenced my personality over the years. And how it all started was a streamer that plays Grand Theft Auto, Joshimus. He speedran my favorite racing game at the time, and still is, Blur. And I saw him speedrun the game. But the thing is, I already played 3 years of Blur at that time. So I was playing a lot of that game. Over the period of 3 years, I was playing the game and mostly multiplayer. So I was really, really good at it. If you do something for 3 years, you're probably going to be pretty good at it. And so I'm doing the speedrun of Blur, and I was like, you can do this better, you can do that better, you can do this better. And I was like, I love that game so much, and that speedrun of his was so bad that I just have to put out a better video and show them how it's done, right?
Yeah, show them.
That was, you know, I just owed it to the game, you know. So it's my favorite game, and being so good at the game, and then seeing someone does a speedrun of it, I had to improve it. I had to show him what's possible. When you actually know every trick in the book, because I really enjoyed that he liked the game as much as I did. So I wanted, for the game, I wanted to put out a video that shows what he can really do in that game when you know everything, and also show him what he can do in that game if he really wants to take it to the next level. And he did. He did a much, much better speedrun afterwards, after he learned the tricks from me. And sorry, what?
Were you in direct contact with him at that point?
Yeah, within chatting. I don't think we directly talk ever. I mean, back then, it was before I even started streaming. Like that was actually over a year before I started full-time streaming. That very first speedrun that I did. And there was actually a bunch of not really much happening in between, like that first speedrun and when my content took off, because the first speedrun that I did was Blur. I beat the world record and I showed them how it's done. And I think about a year later, I was like, okay, this was fun. There was a lot of fun, actually, because I did like speedrun Blur for like a year. So that's why that 1 year happened. And after that 1 year, when I was done with Blur, did really good runs. I was like, okay, I'm done with the speedrun for now. I like this. What are other games that I really enjoyed that I could speedrun? And the first thing that came to my mind right after Blur was Most Wanted. And I did my very first exactly, because I was like, which are the games that I keep playing over and over again? Because Most Wanted was one of those games that I played at least once a year. Like I just popped the game back in, played it, and I was like, this is still so damn good. This is still so much fun, and I still enjoy playing it. And so I did my first speedrun of Most Wanted, which took me 10.5 hours. So I just popped the game in and just played it beginning to end in one sitting. I was like, how long does it actually take me to beat that game? And the first speedrun was 10.5 hours. To put that into perspective, the new records are 3.5 hours. So they're basically 7 hours faster than what I did initially. But that's how I got into like Most Wanted speedrunning. That was the very first one. It wasn't really that good. Then I actually, worked on that speedrun and got all the way down to 7 hours. And that was like the first video that I uploaded to YouTube, because I was like, hey, this is a good run. It was like 7 hours with commentary, and that is what people really enjoyed. Like that was that video I was talking about earlier that took off. It was just me, speedrunning Most Wanted, beating it in 7 hours, and explaining everything I'm doing, what you do to be fast and everything. Just explaining it, making it more clear to the viewer what is happening and why I'm doing it. And that is exactly what I've seen other people do, like other speedrunners. That is exactly what they do. Like they sit, they play the game, and they explain to the viewer exactly what is happening. Because sometimes you do things so fast, or you do things that are maybe not directly apparent to you as a viewer. If you're not playing the game actively right now, you don't really understand what's happening. So that's the thing that I copied, right? So what the other speedrunners were doing, what all the good speedrunners are doing, basically, is explaining what they're doing so people understand what's happening.
Yeah.
And then you get like that extra layer of information about your favorite game. Because that's like the next thing. Why do people watch speedruns? Because they see their favorite game being played in a completely different way they haven't seen before. And the same thing for Most Wanted. Let me take a drink here.
I know. It's late for you. It's afternoon for me. You've already done a big stream today. Yeah, take a drink. Did you ever think it was possible to have the community of followers and fans that you have now?
Yeah, once again, I didn't really plan for it. It's one of those things that happen, right? Like I was like, of course it would be cool to get up to 100K at some point, but I think it happened last year. I think it happened in 2020, the first time we cracked the 100K. Like it was really fast in the beginning. Then it kind of slowed down a little bit, and then we had like another burst. And I think it's that cycle. It just repeats itself depending on what's happening. But it's never the goal to increase the numbers. It's, for me, it's always the goal is, how can I make this better? Like, what else can I do? And like, how can I just improve the content by itself and the experience for everyone, myself included, of course, because if I'm not having fun, I'm not going to do it, because that was always like the most important thing for me. No matter what I'm doing, it's supposed to be fun. Like, if I'm not having fun, then I'm definitely going to do something else in the future. Same thing with my job as a chemist. Like, I wouldn't, even if I wouldn't have been, a streamer in that year when I started, I wouldn't have stayed in that job. I would definitely be somewhere else. Like, there's no way in hell they would have kept me.
I'm curious what your family thought in the beginning of what you were doing.
Oh, yeah.
versus what they think now.
Well, when I started, basically everyone didn't really understand what I was doing. Like the entire live streaming aspect, they didn't really understand, because I'm still not making a lot of money with YouTube. Like, YouTube is just secondary. YouTube is just for growth. Like, the ad revenue that we get from YouTube, basically you play ads because YouTube likes to show videos that have ads on them, because they make money with it, right? So obviously they promote content that has ads on it. So YouTube for me is mostly growing everything, growing the channel, growing YouTube, growing Twitch, growing the community. But YouTube was never earning money. And the only thing, my relatives really understood was, okay, you do ads on YouTube and you make money. But that's not how I made money. I made money by having subscriptions on Twitch, where people were watching me live and also donating like money directly to my PayPal account and stuff like that. And that was something they had a really hard time wrapping their head around. And the first 1, maybe even 2 years, they were always like, just go back to what you did before, take the safe path, do what you learned, pull through, just do the thing that you don't really like, but that is safe. I mean, of course they mean it, in a good way. They want to see me succeed, or at least not starve to death. So, taking a regular job, being able to pay rent and buy food, right? Like that's what family's for, right? To make sure that they don't die at the end of the day. Yeah. But it was making me unhappy, right? So that wasn't really for me the way to go. So at the beginning, I was like, yeah, you're right. So you basically take the advice and then you do whatever you want to do anyways. You just listen to them, you listen to their ideas and worries and everything, and then you just do whatever you wanted to do anyways, because everything else isn't really on my agenda. You can give me your opinion, you can tell me what you want to tell me, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna do what I wanted to do in the first place. Mm-hmm. Like, it's very hard to sway me away from my path unless you actually show me a better one. Like, you have to convince me about an actual alternative, rather than the thing that people are accustomed to,
right? Especially
like a generation older than me, like parents, uncles. They did go to school / go to university, get a job, and that's it, right? And I just don't tick that way. I just needed to be more in a creative capacity of any kind, really. I needed to create something. Like, if I wasn't creating, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. There was something missing, and I just didn't enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, it was mostly just listen to the critique and their worries, and then just move on and do what you wanted to do anyways.
Right. Yeah. I found that too, like, even with me starting my channel, which I really just started this show, this is episode 12, I just started back in April of last year. And, but my parents are really supportive of me. And once I kind of explain what I'm doing, and, they're probably watching now, so hi, Mom and Dad. Yeah, it's nice that people, can see for themselves what is happening. Cool. So I want to go back to talking about speed running for people who, maybe don't know what that is. I mean, basically it's finishing a game from front to back, or a large portion of the game, as quickly as possible. And am I I almost think, are you in the Guinness Book of World Records for speedrunning?
I'm not sure. I never looked it up. The thing is with Guinness World Records, usually in order to get approved, you have to have like an official standing next to you when you perform it.
Oh, right.
And honestly, I think if someone would have written me into it, I'm pretty sure someone would have told me about it. So I never really aspired to be in the Guinness World Record book. I mean, it's the thing that I grew up with too. Like I knew about being world records being in the book. But I mean, if you really, the thing is, the way speedruns are verified, like you get new world records all the time. Like the books don't come out fast enough. That's why we have websites where all the records are written down. And yeah, maybe there are a few fancy records that get a lot more media publicity that they put in the book eventually, but not really something I care about. Honestly.
Cool though that you at least I read that you have at least held the world record for 3 years in a row for Need for Speed Most Wanted 2000.
That is true, yeah.
That's hugely impressive. So congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, you can be nitpicking because a lot of the time the world record was beaten and then I immediately beat it back. So you could say there were small interruptions in between. It always depends, like how do you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Because I had rivalries all the time, and right now I actually don't have the record, so I still have to get that back.
Yeah. All right. Do you plan on doing that anytime soon, or just
not necessarily anytime soon? Because I've been doing a lot of Most Wanted recently, so I'm taking a break right now, doing other things. I just can't do one thing for too long in a row. I just need to, take a little bit of break, do something else.
Yeah, it's good for your brain as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And you said your best record time was just over 3 hours, right? For speedrun.
I think it's like 3 hours 40 minutes something. So yeah, we did crack the 4-hour mark.
Yeah,
quite some time ago.
3 hours and 31 minutes that you did.
Honestly, I don't remember right now.
Okay. I just find that crazy impressive. I remember, playing games and you'd like keep going. So that's pretty awesome. And that must be such a wild experience to be broadcasting live while doing a speed run, because you also have the live chat and you're still interacting with them, and it takes so much focus, precision, and discipline and practice to do that. That must be crazy.
Honestly, though, the moment you notice you're on a world record run, you start ignoring the chat. That's the moment where you just blend it out. You stop interacting, you stop reading it, because the moment you do, you're going to do mistakes and you're going to lose time. The moment you realize this run is so good that you can get the world record with it, you start only concentrating on the game. You stop reading the chat, you stop interacting. For the most part, there's still a little bit, but you cut out everything as much as possible. And there are loading times, when you can't play the game, or we have a cutscene where you can't play the game. That's the moment where you read chat and where you interact. But the moment you actually play, that's when you completely stop it. Like, I'm not going to read the chat when I'm in the middle of a race and I know I'm on a world record pace. I don't want to mess up a single little thing just because I read the chat,
Yeah.
So you're still going to stream it live and everything is happening right now for me and for the viewer, but I'm not going to get distracted at the cost of the time. But yeah, when you're like resetting, so you start again because, something went wrong, you start again, then sure, you're going to be more interactive because it's a pretty normal run in the beginning, plus minus 1 second. Doesn't really matter that much, so you can interact. But the moment you're on the pace for world record, you just cut everything out that is not needed.
Yeah. I remember Oprah said that about marathon running, that like you don't even have a second to look back to see how well you're doing. Don't do it. Just
yeah, exactly. You got to be laser focused.
It's a good metaphor for life. Okay, I want to hear your best and worst fan interactions without, whatever you're comfortable saying. I'm curious, what is one of the coolest and most memorable interactions you've had with a fan? Like maybe fan art? Are there any Kuru tattoos out there.
I don't think anyone got tattooed on my behalf. Sorry, what?
I said they will though after this stream.
Maybe, yeah.
They're like, I got the Kuru tattoo.
I mean, one of the coolest fan interactions that I had was at ESA, the European Speedrunner Assembly. It's basically an event for speedrunners where we all speedrun in a huge live event where we collect money for a charity. And I was meeting so many of my fans there personally that it was a really humbling experience, because it was kind of fun actually having fans, like people that look up to you, and you meet them and they're super happy just so they get to meet you. It's a very humbling experience, and a very nice one too. Made a lot of friends at the event that I am still in contact with today. And yeah, once COVID is over, we're gonna keep doing that. We're gonna go to events and meet fans. It's gonna be great. Not too much longer.
Like, I would love to, it'd be great for Dean McKenzie, Sergeant Cross and I, and the other cast members and people who worked on Wanted, to go to a gaming convention, and like, it'd be great to meet you in person. And
absolutely.
That'd be so cool. So we should definitely make that happen, because I do conventions, for Stargate and all over the world. So it'd be really cool to get into the gaming scene.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
When it comes to like my worst experience with quote unquote fan, there are some people that that want you to succeed, but not too much. They kind of want you to stick around, but they don't want you to grow. So they basically, to create that little bubble of them and you, and they don't want that bubble to expand, basically. So one thing that I had to work through in my first year of streaming, which is people sabotaging me. On the one hand, they were supporting me, but on the other hand, they were sabotaging me so I can't grow anymore. And that was one of the hardest things that I had to go through, because on the one hand, those guys were actually helpful, and they did do things for me, and paid me money so I can buy new equipment for the stream and everything. And then on the other hand, they were actively sabotaging the community to make sure it doesn't grow too big, and getting rid of those people in a civilized way, not without everything falling apart, was extremely difficult and a very hard thing to manage.
Do you know if that person or persons were, or people were streamers?
No, just regular people with regular jobs. As far as I know, they were not streaming in any serious capacity.
Yeah, that sucks.
It does. It really did. Luckily, it really hasn't happened since then, because right now my bullshit meter is a lot better calibrated. And, when I see someone making trouble, they are very quickly gone. Like, I'm not dealing with that anymore. At this point, I just gotta keep out any kind of toxicity at the root, and, it's not worth it. Like, you would rather get rid of those people as fast as possible than trying to convert them. It's just not worth it. You're not gonna be liked by everyone, and that's perfectly fine. Like, if you're liked by the people that actually enjoy your stuff, that's more than enough. There's no point in trying to make everyone like you.
Do you pretty much have a one-strike rule? Like,
I don't. Nah, it really depends on how they act. Like, some people get killed immediately. Like. Like, they say a certain thing, they do a certain thing, they're immediately gone. Like, I'm not even gonna bother with that. When you see there's like no grounds for a second chance, like, immediately cut it off, get it out. And then there's some other things that are not really that bad. We're like, okay, you did this, don't do it again, and it's gonna be fine, right? It really depends on the situation. It doesn't make sense. You need to be more flexible. You can't say you do something stupid, you get a warning, because some things are just so stupid. There is no reason to get a warning. You're just gone. You don't deserve to be here. Yeah,
and I'd imagine too, your viewership ranges in age, and so you might also get people that are quite young, hence maybe immature or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, usually when someone is immature, you can tell them you can't act like that. get a grip of yourself. We don't do that here, then it's fine. But then there's some people that, you know, straight up toxic, you know, try to create, you know, chaos, and you don't need those people. You really don't. Like, it's a lot more important to keep your community happy rather than some random that just joins and makes everything worse. Like, you don't need those people. You really don't.
And it's supposed to be a fun environment where we're
Exactly,
all
yeah.
spending good time together.
I mean, one thing I say on a consistent basis is, if you're not having fun, get out. Like, you don't need to be here. you can spend your time somewhere else. If you're not having fun, this is not the place for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As simple as that.
That's a good philosophy. In my last episode, because you were on my last stream on the Need for Speed Most Wanted reunion episode, which was great, you were telling us about the modified version of Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 that you are playing, known as the Need for Speed Most Wanted Pepega Mod. And I realized after looking it up what you're talking about, because I think when you were telling all of us who had worked on the game, we just didn't know really what you were talking
about. You need to see it. You need to see it to understand it.
To understand. So the Need for Speed Most Wanted Pepega Mod is an enhanced version of the original game, and it adds funny internet memes and pop culture references and other things to the Most Wanted 2005 experience. Can you talk about the Need for Speed Most Wanted Pepega Mod and how that came about for those of us who
well, it started with super simple modding. One of my mods, Community Minded Miner, replaced one of the billboards in Most Wanted with my face. Like, it's one of my emotes where it's basically my face, and they only cut out like just the skin part, right? So it's just like my forehead, my eyes, and my mouth, and it's like a square face of me. And they took that and put it on a billboard. And as I was driving by, I was very amused. I found it super funny, because it was a mod that was actually focusing on something else, but he put that in there just for fun. And this idea of just replacing stuff in the game caught on. And the person that went with it all the way was Eden, my editor for YouTube. Like, he started to replace so many things in the entire game. Like, replace this, replace that, because it's actually fairly easy to take the texture of anything in the game and replace it with a different one. And he changed so many things, nearly everything. So the first version of the Pepega mod just had the most ridiculous things put into the game everywhere: memes, sponsors, faces, and that was just version 1, where just everything was replaced. And it was kind of fun driving through the world and seeing a whole bunch of different things, because you know what usually is there, and then there's something completely different, and it just hits you. It's super fun. And that was just the first version, where just simple replacements of textures, and that caught on massively. And that was the simple version. And then they went really deep into modding it, where they replaced the bosses in the game, where they replaced the voice lines in the game, where they replaced entire game elements, where, you know, there were different cop cars. For example, instead of the helicopter, there was a UFO hunting you down, stuff like that.
Does it have like my scenes with Sergeant Cross, like us as the cops, like those scenes, or did you guys like?
No, they are still in there, but they have been heavily modified. So your text has been altered in a way where, you know, it becomes a little bit more, let's say, fun. For example, when you say, I remember when you're saying, you know, I would like to take a peek under the hood. Then it's when, you know, they inserted like some sexy music from Yellow. Oh yeah, I don't know if you know the song. I'm gonna write it in the private chat. You can open it up if you want to.
Yeah, that's cool.
You probably know the sound when you hear it, but basically, you know, it was a whole bunch of, you know, modifying the cutscenes to make them even more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's go on like our immature level, where it's like um, um, instead of nice car, Cross is gonna say nice cock, stuff like that, it gets partly it gets really simple, but just if you know the original and then you see this, it's just extremely funny. It just hits you because it's so random most of the time. It just gets you so hard, and you're gonna burst out in laughter. I don't know if you know the concept of YouTube poop, where it's basically just random stuff happening. They just take a certain ad or a video of something that a lot of people know, and then they just replace not the lyric yet the lyrics if it's a song, or just a text if it's an ad, and it just becomes this crazy thing. And they do that with all the cutscenes, and it becomes really fun. And then you have all the bosses being replaced by other popular YouTubers or characters that everyone knows, and a whole bunch of memes that are specific to my channel too, because Eden, he has been with the community for years now, that he knows all of them, and he incorporated all those memes from my Twitch channel and YouTube into the game as well. So that's also a pretty heavy focus, like the content that came over the years in my channel into the game.
Nice. And they put you and also YouTuber Black Panther in there as well. That's so great. I really want to see like how it looks. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, of course, the custom soundtrack that's in there too. Like there's not of anything anymore there of the original soundtrack. Like the songs themselves. Yeah, shouts to Falafi. He remixed a shit ton of songs in the game and made Kuru versions out of it. So like songs that have like my speech in it, replacing the regular text. So there's like music that was made for me and then put into the Pepega mod as the alternative soundtrack. It's crazy. There's so much work in that mod. Another one that is heavily working on it, Cypher and King Jack Skellington. Like they're all working so hard on that game. They do so much. Especially the challenge series. Like after they'd done the career mode, they went on to the challenge series of Most Wanted, which is like 68 events. And they have been completely replaced what originally was there. Like you wouldn't recognize it because it's completely different. When you play Most Wanted, it's an amazing game. You love it. You remember it for 15 and more years. And then you get like a completely different version of the game, which still has the core gameplay, but completely different experience.
That sounds really fun. Well, I heard that even content creators and streamers that have like over like 1 million followers are playing this version.
Shout out to Black Panther.
That's nice. I actually I need to get in touch with him. I'd like to have him on the show sometime too. That'd be cool. So for people who want to get this version, the Pepega Mod version of Need for Speed Most Wanted, where do they find this?
They actually have a website. Let me check. Pepega Mod website.
I guess you just Google it, right?
You can probably Google it, but I'm trying to find like the website. Chat, help me out. I'm trying to find it right now.
Everyone in the chat, can you post the link for everyone, please? Also, is this is
actually you can't easily find it with a Google search.
You cannot?
No, I don't think so. Give me a second.
I thought I did the other day.
Maybe I'm just bad.
And it's available for. Did anyone do it? Oh, it's available for free, right?
Yeah, of course. Nobody's charging you money for this. If somebody's charging you money for this, don't. Don't. Just ask me. I'll get you the link.
Yeah, that's great. So,
okay, so here you can find the mod here. It is. I can't find the original website. Maybe it's down right now. Either way, it's also on Need for Speed Mods XYZ. Posted it in the chat. If you want it, it's there.
Sweet. Nice. Did you put it in the private chat or the group chat?
The group chat, like directly on YouTube.
So is the Pepega mod still in the beta stage? Because you guys just released that last
So there's already the first version out. There's a version 1.0, but they are working on a second version already. Like they're remaking it once again, making it even more fun and different, you know. So there's basically going to be version 1, version 2. You probably want to play both versions because they're going to be different, you know. Like once again, they're gonna rework everything. I'm going to record more voice lines as well, so it's going to be expanded one more time. Certain bosses are going to be replaced with, you know, better fitting ones, and just generally you can play the first version right now, experience it, have fun with it, and then I would say maybe end of May, April, there's going to be the next full version for you guys to play.
That's cool. And that's really quick. Like, it sounds like Eden and the team, because how many people are really working on this? Because I know
they have their own Discord. Let me find the Discord link just to see how many people are in there.
Because I know a lot of people contributed their ideas.
Yeah. There was like a Google form with people putting down their ideas, and it was several hundreds. So it's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I just wondered how many people actually were the hands.
I can probably find it in my own chat. Let me test this Pepega.
That's really cool.
Oh yeah, the website is just pepegamod.com.
Okay.
You want to go to the official website?
Nice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I know people were asking, I had some fan questions because I opened it up.
Yeah.
What questions for you? And they were wondering, are there plans for a Need for Speed carbon or heat version of Pepega?
Carbon I can see, because Carbon has enough story that can be changed in a funny way. Heat, probably not so much. I don't think you can mod heat that easily. So okay. If I had to guess, Carbon would be the next logical step. A game that can be modified in a way where you can mess with the story so much that it's actually fun to play and worth playing.
Right.
Because in a lot of the other Need for Speeds, there isn't really that much story, or they're so new that it's kind of hard to mod those games in the first place. And there's also just not that much interest, you know. As you know, Most Wanted is still the hottest iron they have in the Need for Speed franchise. And people are just a lot more interested in Most Wanted, and definitely Carbon too, than so many other things. I mean, you could do Underground too. The problem is those games don't have that many story elements. They're just not as story heavy as Carbon and Most Wanted. So those games can be modified, but it wouldn't be as fun, simply because there isn't that much story that could be changed. And once again, it's not as easy to mod as Most Wanted. Most Wanted is just a playground. There's so much stuff you can do and change. And that is also true for Carbon, but the modding scene is definitely more on the Most Wanted side.
Yeah. That's cool. Why do you think the fans love this game so much after 15 years after its release?
I mean, first of all, it was one of a kind at the time. It gave us something no other game did at the time, which, you know, for me was these extremely exciting cop chases. They did so well with the music and just how the cop mechanic worked in that game. That's like the thing that I always went back to Most Wanted, because I just spent hours playing with the cops, fighting them, destroying them, fleeing from them. That was like the thing that really put Most Wanted apart. But not just that, like if you just think back to the story, it was a really captivating story. Like you start with a really fast car, and it gets taken away from you from a jerk, Razor, right? Like, he takes your car. Like he sabotages your car, it breaks down, you lose it. And you're basically back to square one. You know, you have Mia helping you out in the beginning, you know, you get a second chance to redeem yourself, to get your car back and everything. And that angle of having two antagonists, the cops and the other racers in the blacklist, it was amazing. You didn't just have that one angle, you had two angles that you had to fight. You had to fight the other racers and you had to fight the cops at the same time. You needed both to advance. And just everything, it was just such a nice package where although it wasn't 100% complete, they had even more ideas for the game. It was still a very amazing experience because it worked so well together, everything. Like, there wasn't really that one part where like, they could have made that so much better and the game would have been amazing. The game was amazing as it was, you know, even with the cut content, because there's always going to be cut content stuff that doesn't make it into the final game. But it was one of those games that gave you something new, and what it did give you was amazing. It just worked so well, and they couldn't recreate it since then. Carbon was similar, but still not as good. For me personally, Carbon, I didn't like the world map as much. I think it was more fun driving in the Most Wanted in city of Rockport. So I didn't like Fortuna as much, and the city in Carbon. But additionally, the cops were not that important in Carbon. They were there, but they were not as implemented as they were in Most Wanted, where you had, once again, you had to become the Most Wanted. You had to fight the cops. In Carbon, it was just take the territories, you know, and you're done. You know, it wasn't as sophisticated as Most Wanted. So while it was good, it wasn't as good. You know.
Yeah, I feel you, and I think the fans, you know, majority of them agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of metrics. You can look at the viewer counts on YouTube videos. You can look at the sale numbers of the games themselves. Like, there's so many ways you can compare those two games, and you know, Most Wanted comes on top most of the time. Like, one thing that people complained the most about Carbon, it was too short. I remember my very first playthrough of Carbon was like 5 hours, maybe 4. Just remember I went from territory to territory to territory, and you just beat every territory in about an hour, maybe a little bit more, especially Darius was a hard end boss. But you finish Carbon on the first day. You get to Carbon, you start in the morning, you're going to be way done before the evening. And it was too easy to finish, it was too fast to finish, and it just felt like a letdown after you spent weeks trying to beat Most Wanted, because it was a lot more content there. There was so much more to do. And that was like the thing that I also noticed the first. Like, my very first experience with Calm was just, why is the game so short? Like, I played Most Wanted so much. We don't do anything with the cops and the game is already over. Like, I was disappointed it being so short, more than anything.
Have you found many glitches in Most Wanted?
The glitches themselves, not really. I mostly did optimizing, where, you know, I came up with certain strategies of which card to take, what events to do, and how to deal with the cops. That's like the biggest time saver you have while speedrunning Most Wanted, how you deal with the cops, and what you can do to optimize that to make it even faster. So I didn't discover any glitches in that regard. One thing that we discovered as a community, mostly Daddy, one of my mods, once again, you can force the cops to spawn in races because you want that. You want the cops to find you, so you get more heat level, and basically it speeds up the game. You get more heat level, you get more cops, and you can beat the game faster if you force the cops to appear during a race. And that's very specific right now, but basically you do start the event from the safe house that has cops, and then exactly at the 37-second mark, the cops are going to call in every single time. And that only happens if you do the event from the safe house. And we didn't really realize that for a very long time, because it happened from time to time and we didn't know why. And it was always the events that started from the safe house, but we didn't realize it until, I think, half a year into speedrunning the game, that was happening, why it was happening, and how we then can incorporate that in future runs to save more time. So that was the thing that, you know, my community as a whole discovered mostly. Once again, Daddy. I was playing, he saw what was happening, he deciphered what was happening. So shout outs to him. He definitely discovered that one.
That's an awesome.
And that's like now a permanent strategy in speedrunning of Most Wanted. Like, you are using that. It's too important not to use it. If you don't use it, you're gonna lose minutes. So you have to use them now. And the only thing that I really did for Most Wanted was the discovery that, you know, the starter car, the Golf, is the fastest car. You just pick the Golf in the beginning, you keep it all the way to the end. You just pick your starter car, you keep upgrading it, you use it. and that's going to be like the fastest strategy, at least for the fastest category, where you just go through the game as fast as possible. That's still the case. You take the golf. The golf is better. you stick to it.
I used to drive a VW Golf GTI.
Nice. Do you know which model? Which Mark 4 or 5?
Okay, so people are going to judge me, but I had the driver's edition, which was great for me because I'm just city driving in LA. I'm not racing. But
driver's edition means it has an automatic, or what?
Yeah, well, mine was automatic. I drive.
I mean, it's a lot more common in the US to have automatics, right?
I prefer driving automatic just because it's.
I mean,
like
especially in a city environment, it makes a lot of sense because it's very stressful to just keep changing gears all the time. I mean, I do prefer manual gearboxes myself, but I know that if you're in a city, it's very nice to have an automatic.
Well, also in LA, I don't want to get sued if I accidentally roll back. Because like when I did drive stick, there was times where I'd be on a hill and I would like go to start and then I'd accidentally roll back just a tiny bit, like person behind me. So I don't want that to happen. But yeah, so it's
one of the most stressful things as a beginner when you're driving too, because in Austria there's mostly manual gearboxes, so you have to learn how to start up a hill, play with the handbrake and everything, up and down the hill, and making sure that you don't roll into the car behind you.
Yep.
In Austria it's like when you're driving with your driving instructor, they're not saying anything because they know if they say something they're going to make you even more nervous and it's going to be even more likely that they're going to do a mistake. So whenever you're starting uphill, they are basically dead silent. They don't say anything because they know if they say something it's even more likely that they're going to mess up and roll into the guy behind you.
Yep. I'm curious, for Most Wanted, who's your favorite character or blacklist racer, and also your favorite? Oh no, you've said your favorite car is the Golf.
Mm-hmm.
Play, right?
I mean, for a speedrun, right? Like from personal taste point, it is the M3 GTR that is still my favorite car. But people always ask me, "What's your favorite blacklist car that isn't the M3?" Because most people pick the M3, and that would be Baron's Porsche. It's a black Porsche with the black flames. Yeah. And bolted on body kit. That one I really like personally.
I also like the look of the Gallardo.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this one that's let's say a more sensible car. A car like you could see yourself probably driving through the city without all the bling, with all the crazy customization. It looks a lot more normal as a Lamborghini looks like. Really.
Yeah. Not very low key though. So what is your view of the Need for Speed franchise from then to now, and what would you like to see in the future from those guys?
So I've become more and more competitive over the years. So one thing I would love to see from Need for Speed eventually is for it to become an esport. So which basically means competition, on an international level where you have teams competing against each other for the best team, that win, competition and races and everything. Put it on a higher level. I really want that because that's the thing that I enjoyed the most in Blur. Just playing against other people, trying to become better, all of that stuff. So I would love for Need for Speed, obviously go back to the roots, to the black box era where they had Underground, Most Wanted, Carbon, Pro Street. I love that as a story element, but then I do want them to also be very heavily involved into multiplayer, because that is what keeps people around. You love the story so much that you want to keep playing the game. And then there's multiplayer, and I want the multiplayer to be on a really high level that you have something to do for the long run. Because as much as I like playing through a great story and enjoying it, usually after you did that a few times, or maybe you do it once a year with Most Wanted, like I always did, just to re-experience it, I want to have something to play for the long run, because I want to stick to the game for more than just the story playthrough and then, revisit it in a year or so. So I want competitive multiplayer for the long term, and they need to put some time in there, because the last Need for Speed, it didn't even have an actual multiplayer mode. The only way to do multiplayer was to hook up with your friends on your friend list and join the world map together. That's the only way. Like, you can't just jump into multiplayer and just play with anyone. It doesn't work. You have to have your friends online to even play. I mean, for me, it's easier as a streamer. I just, hey, here's my friend code, add me, we're going to play. But most people don't have that luxury that they have hundreds of people at the ready to join them in multiplayer. So it was basically non-existent for most other people. And that's really sad, because racing is about competition. Like, why do we watch Formula One? We want to see people compete against each other for first place. And the same thing can be applied for Need for Speed, especially with its still relatively huge fan base. If they actually, spend some time on that, they could create something good.
Yeah. Do you have an idea, out of curiosity, what country the majority of the fans for the game are, or is it really just all over the globe?
It really is all over the place. It is strongly concentrated in Europe. So there's definitely more Europe than US. And the rest of the world, like at the most, I would say 20% US and 80% rest of the world, where 60% is Europe. That's usually my numbers when I look at my demographics for my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Like, where the US is like 15%, then you have 70% Europe, and then you have like 15% left for the rest of the world.
Wild. Yeah, I get friends also from India that love playing the game. It's just cool. Like, everyone, I'm always curious what countries everyone is from that is watching. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
Is there any indication of when the next Need for Speed game is coming out?
I mean, it's already confirmed. We're definitely getting one this year.
Oh, there is one.
Yeah, there's definitely one this year. Like, they're on a 2-year cycle, and Criterion, the ones that are developing the game right now, already confirmed there's going to be one this year. So if you want an educated guess, it's going to be a November release, because that's when Need for Speed always releases. If you just look at the Need for Speeds, the last 3-4 ones, they all released in November. So it's a pretty safe bet that we're going to get another Need for Speed in November, this holiday season. Even with COVID, they already said they're on pace. There's going to be a game, so I trust them that we're going to get one. And
and so, like, what it's going to be, or
no idea, absolutely no idea. I expect it's going to be similar to Heat, because Heat did get very good reviews. The Need for Speed community likes what he was doing, and basically want more of that, just better. So they're basically going in the right direction with the Need for Speed franchise, where Heat was definitely the best game they put out the last 10 years for the most part. And I do think we're going to get something similar.
Okay, I have a couple more questions, and then we'll start to get into questions from the live chat. So EA invited you to come to the release of one of their games. Can you talk about that experience?
So that was super fun. So before Heat released, they basically invited me and a bunch of other content creators to a recording event. So we all got invited to the UK. They flew us in, they gave us a hotel, and then basically what we did, we just directly went to the recording station, and we got our first experience with Need for Speed Heat. It was really amazing. It was like the first time where, being an influencer actually had an impact on my personal life. Like, I got invited, I got flown into the country and check out the game for the very first time. Before anyone else, and they allowed us to record it and then make YouTube videos about that content. It was amazing. It was really, really cool experience, just sitting in a room with like 20 other content creators, like all covering Need for Speed, and
did
it was just cool hanging out with those people in general, because those were all enthusiasts for racing or Need for Speed, either one of them or both. What was your question?
Well, one is, I'm curious, like, what the room looked like the setup looked like, and also, were those people that, they must have been people that you knew, the other gamers, but like, had you met them in real life before?
No, actually, I met all of them for the very first time. every single one of them I never met in real life. Obviously, I've seen them from the YouTube videos, but never met them in person. So it was really cool. And for the room itself, imagine a half circle where on the circle side there were all the PC setups, and on the straight side there was basically a huge monitor just showing off the game, and a couch with the developers, because we were talking to the developers too. Like that was really cool, just having the direct contact with the developers, asking them about certain aspects of the game, what they were thinking, what they're planning, what else they got up their sleeves for the game. Also the stuff I wasn't, we were not allowed to talk about because, NDA, we're allowed to show certain things, talk about certain things, because I got really deep into the story. And then they told us, you can't show that part of the story. Like I spent most of my day just rushing through the story. I just wanted to see as much as possible from the game. Then we're like, that is where you have to stop. This is as much as you can show. Like this is as much as I was allowed to show, and I played that much of the story. I nearly got through with the entire story. I actually tried to speedrun that version of the game that they gave us, and I got furthest into the story of all the content creators. Like that is what I concentrated on. And then they were like, okay, you did this, you're allowed to show this.
How long was that room open for you guys to play? Like, was it like
I think we had about 8 hours with the game, maybe a little bit less. Maybe it was just 6. I don't remember anymore. But yeah, it was super fun being able to just record all of that gameplay and put it into a YouTube video. And then we had like our embargo. Like I was releasing it on YouTube, and at the same time I was also showing that edited content on my Twitch channel. So that was a lot of fun.
And they gave you a copy of the game after. Did you get any other?
Yeah, they did send me the game physically and digitally afterwards. I have it somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in my box back there with all of my games.
That is so cool. Did you get anyone to sign it or anything?
No, because we got sent the game afterwards, so there was no possibility for them to sign it. It was the other way around, actually. They sent me like 10 copies of the game. I signed 9 of them and sent them out to my fans, and I kept 1 for myself.
Have you ever considered working for a gaming company like EA, like as a game tester?
So here's the thing. What I honestly want to do for any racing game out there, I just want to be the advisor. I just want to tell them what works, what doesn't work, and what they can improve on. And I really want to be included as early as possible, so they actually still have the time to make significant and meaningful changes. Because if you show me the final product and then you ask me about my opinion, that doesn't really help you. Like you can't really do any. Like if you give me the game 2 weeks before it releases, well, there's nothing else you can do anymore. Sure, it's going to be for future patches, but if you actually want to have a significant impact on the game, you have to invite me early. You have to ask me about my opinion early. Like if you're still in the stages of what kind of game is it going to be, that's a good time to ask me. And maybe, before the finishing touches are done, if you ask me like, what can we improve on to make this a better experience, especially multiplayer? Like, please make sure that multiplayer is included in the first place, but not, if the multiplayer is going to be in there, then I could give, a shit ton of advice of how to make a competitive multiplayer to keep people playing for the long term. Because I see a bunch of games going into the service route, where you get a subscription of the game or you buy DLC on a consistent basis. But people are only going to buy your DLC if people are still playing the game. So you got to keep them hooked on the multiplayer. Because sorry, what?
What is that for people who don't know?
What exactly? DLC?
You said, is it DLC or TLC?
DLC, downloadable content.
TLC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not tender love.
DLC is just downloadable content, and either it's paid, unpaid. Like I personally prefer the game being cheap or free to play, and then you give people visual customization. that you pay for, because those are the most successful games. I look at Rocket League, I look at League of Legends, I look at Fortnite, where the games are either free or cheap, and then you buy visual customizations. You don't want the pay to win game where you pay $20 and then you're 10% faster. You don't want that. Like, that's a mobile game. We really don't want that, especially not in the main Need for Speed franchise.
Right.
But if you just want to, create a really good multiplayer game, go into the direction of, the game is free or cheap, and then the stuff you can buy basically changes your appearance, your character, your avatar, what your car looks like. That makes a lot more sense to me, because you're going to get a lot of players in. You're going to create a huge base of players, and then you can, iterate from that point on. What the community likes, what they want to see. Right. That makes a lot more sense to me when it comes to a multiplayer-based game. And you just look into the direction of Rocket League, how they're doing it, because they came from nothing. They brought basically a new type of football game, and it's massively popular. And I knew it's going to be popular because I got addicted to its multiplayer. I knew it. I played that game for 2,000 hours. That was before I started streaming. Before I started streaming, I spent over 2,000 hours playing Rocket League because I was so addicted to the multiplayer. And the game itself, first of all, it was free on PlayStation Plus in the first place, and then I bought the game for $20. So I could play the PC version, which was running technically better at higher resolution, higher frame rate. But I didn't pay much for the game. I was one of those, cheap skate players that I never bought any visual customization or DLC. I was just playing the game because it was so much fun. And that's what I want to see for the Need for Speed franchise. And I think it's very much possible. And I think it would be financially a very interesting aspect for EA too, to do it like Rocket League, just in a Need for Speed franchise. That's how I see things. Yeah. And where I see a lot of opportunity for, not only financial gain for the company, but also gameplay gain for the consumer to have like a really nice and fun long-term multiplayer experience. That's what I want to see. Yeah. That's what I'm interested in.
That's really cool. Well, hopefully they're watching and they're like, oh, good idea.
just say it often enough until someone catches up on it.
Yeah. I'm curious, what is the most prized collectible that you own?
I actually have a first edition Charizard. It's in German though, so it's gonna say Glurak, but it's Pokemon card. It's the first set of Pokemon, so I have like a first edition Charizard lying around. Actually, I have the entire first set of the first Pokemon start set in German in first edition, because it was like a limited print. They have like a first on it. Yeah. And yeah, I have that right lying around, and I'm pretty sure that is the most monetary value possession that I have when we're talking about this. I think that answers the question best.
Yeah. No. Okay, we're gonna turn it over to the fans in a second. I do want to read some fan questions that came in for you to me. Kuru, do you have any plans doing Grand Theft Auto 5 speedrun video or videos?
Not necessarily. It's not really something that I'm super interested in, because when you do something as a speedrun repetitively, you better enjoy it a lot. Yeah. And I know that GTA 5 has a huge community, and it would definitely be successful. It's not necessarily something that I'm interested in right now. Like, never say never. Like, sometimes I might do it just once or twice for fun, just to see what it's like, because it's fun. It's fun to do a speedrun, to play a game that you already know and do it in a fast fashion. It's a different experience of the game itself. So it's fun by itself. But not necessarily something that I have on my mind right now. Especially, as you might see, I'm doing the racing marathon right now. So it's laser focused on racing games and a wide variety of them.
When did you start the marathon?
Well, the very first marathon that I did was all the way back in 2018, because I was doing so much Most Wanted and certain game speed runs that people were asking for variety, and myself 2 that was thinking, what can I do that makes sense and is fun? And I was like, I never played all the Need for Speed games. So I came up with the idea of the Need for Speed Marathon, that I will start with the very first Need for Speed game and end with the last one, which was Need for Speed Payback at the time, and play everything in between, including the obscure ones of like console games and handheld games like Game Boy, PlayStation 1, because the same game has different versions. For example, if you play Hot Pursuit, the PlayStation 2 version is different than the PC version. So there was so much to play. And I thought that was a really fun idea. And it was an amazing idea. Like, the channel grew a lot in that time because I collected the fans of every single Need for Speed that was out there. And after the Need for Speed Marathon, I was like, there's so many other games I can do. And then that's when the Racing Marathon was born for the first time last year. Actually, when I moved here into this place, I was like, okay, what else can we do? Like, after the Need for Speed Marathon, people wanted more. Like, the Need for Speed Marathon was over, people wanted more, and I was like, okay, let's do a Racing Marathon, which is a much bigger project than the Need for Speed Marathon, because now I'm unlimited on the games, right? Like, now I have the entire racing franchise and history at my disposal. So there's even more games that I never played and can now, put into the format of a marathon, where I just play them day by day by day by day, do the next thing. And this is like the second version now. Like, the Racing Marathon started in this place here for the first time last year, and now we're doing the second one.
So you'll do one full game per stream, or do you do like? Yeah.
I try to finish every game that I start, but some games are just so bad, they're just fun to show. Just show a bad game because it's entertaining. Everyone like collectively hates on it for how bad it is, and we just make fun of it, and then we move on to the next one. Like, not every game is worth playing through, but a lot of them are. A lot of them are worth showcasing, showing, and then we move on to the next one.
Another fan question for you: what made you pick Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 to stream over, say, Midnight Club or Forza?
The thing is, I didn't grow up with those other two games. Like, I didn't play the Midnight Club series growing up. I didn't play Forza games growing up because I didn't have an Xbox. I didn't have a PlayStation. I just had a Nintendo 64, then had a GameCube, then had a Wii. Like, I was very much a Nintendo kid. And PC. Like, those are the things that I had. I had Nintendo consoles and had a PC. So I didn't really have those experiences growing up with PlayStation and Xbox franchises. So they don't have as much nostalgia for me, because the very first time I got Most Wanted was actually on a GameCube. And then I bought the PC version like a month later because I wanted to have like a better graphical experience once again. Like, I liked the GameCube version, but I was like, this looks way better on a PC. So I bought it for the PC and then played it there. It was also all the way back in 2005. And yeah, that's really why I picked Most Wanted over those other games, because I never played them at the time, and I just played the game over and over again.
And Most Wanted is the best game.
Obviously.
I don't bias or anything.
Not only the golf, but also Most Wanted is better.
Another fan question: any tips or tricks for a beginning speedrunner?
I mean, how I usually approach any new speedrunner, I just play the game. Just play through it, then maybe play through it again and try to get a 100% completion. You see everything the game has. Not necessarily because you're going to get better doing 100%, because you might see something that you can incorporate into a speedrun. I mean, that was all the way back when I tried to build the speedrun itself, routing it, trying to find the fastest route. But one thing you can always do, like, if you actually want to get really good at a speedrun, you need to watch the world record. You need to learn every single strategy that the world record is doing and learn it for yourself. Like, just break it down into smaller pieces. Do the first chapter, practice that. Do the second chapter, practice that. And once you're confident in every single smaller part of the speed run, then you can put it all together and do a full run. Because I see a lot of people that just do the full run, and they don't learn the things that you need to learn in order to get better. So you're going to do a speed run, but it's never going to be really good. You really have to learn the smallest parts that you can find and then put them all together for a full run. That's how you really approach a run to world record level.
Yeah.
You can do it for fun, right? Like just learn the easy stuff. You can learn the easy stuff too. Like learn the easy stuff first, do that, have fun, and then if you want to pursue it further, you can. So it's really how much time do you want to put into it? How much do you want to learn, right?
And I think there must be so many resources for people to utilize now, you know, YouTube videos, and I'm guessing there must be even forums that people.
Yeah, exactly. Like on speedrun.com is a website.
Like that?
Sorry, what?
I said there must be forums in addition to like Reddit.
Yeah.
Like that.
I mean, mostly there's a speedrun Discord. Discord is like its own software where it's like a bunch of forums gathered together, and there's one for Need for Speed speedruns, and there's definitely a Discord channel for whatever game you want to play. And you can go there, talk to the people, or just, as I said, you know, you watch the world records. Like the website where all the speedruns are is very simple, speedrun.com. On that website, you will find your game, you will find guides, you will find pretty much everything you need to start. And from there on, you know, you can always look for Discord channels of a certain game or a certain franchise. You're gonna be able to enter that, get more information. Like that is all there. If you're looking for it, you're gonna find it.
I'd imagine that world record site is being updated all the time.
Exactly. Like every time there's a new world record, you know, the moderators look at it, see if it's legit, and then it gets, you know, verified, and then it's going to be officially on the leaderboards.
That is awesome. Why, another fan question, why is the golf better?
I mean, it's one of those memes that just happened. You know, like so many other memes, they just happen because they're funny, and, you know, the community thinks it's funny. Like most of the time, the memes are just established by the community, and I jump on it because I think it's funny too, right? And the thing is, the Golf is just the best starter car if you play Most Wanted. If you have an Underground 2 save file to get extra cash, you can buy the Golf. And I just said it at some point, and people... I thought it was funny, and they repeated it over and over again. You know, when I like, the question is always, why do you pick the Golf? You know, the question just happened all the time. Why do you pick the Golf? Why always the Golf? And the answer was always the Golf is better. It's just better than the rest, you know. It's just better than the other starter cars. So that is why I always said multiple times in a stream, like, the Golf is better. And it just burned itself into the minds of people, and it has been a meme for like 4 years straight.
So that should be your next t-shirt.
True, and never printed it on a shirt. That is true.
Yeah. Okay, another fan question. How do you do it all?
Very broad question. I mean, it is at the end of the day, it's passion. Yeah. It is passion. Like you do what you want to do. Like the moment you actually get to do what you want to do as a job is when you get a lot of energy. You get a lot of energy doing the thing that you love to do. When you're passionate about something, and then at the same time, it is your job, there's so much you can do. You know, when you can really lean yourself into it 100%, because you know you're going to be able to pay your bills. I mean, luckily, I'm not at the point anymore where I have to worry about paying bills. But definitely was like that in my first year of streaming. And I was definitely a lot more stressed out when I started streaming. But, you know, even that, you know, passes. That the initial phase of, am I going to make it? Am I even going to make it as a content creator? And then, you know, you can broaden what you're doing, you know, and you can take more risks, because, you know, you're not going to go broke from today to tomorrow. Like now my savings are more than just 3 months of rent, you know. Like now I don't have to worry about, you know, losing 50 subscribers. Like if I lose 50 subscribers right now, I will not notice it. If I lost 50 subscribers in my first month of streaming, that was the end of the world. Like if I lost 50 subscribers during my first month of streaming, I was thinking, shit, like I just got my first 100 subscribers, and now half of them left. Like what the hell am I doing wrong, right? Now 50%, 50 subscribers is only a much smaller percentage. You know, while it was 50% back then, now it's like 0.5%. You know, like the relation, the percentages changes, and sure, if I would lose 2,000 subscribers, it would hit me just as hard as losing 50 subscribers back then. So the numbers are just different. But it doesn't really happen. Like you're on a lot more stable level now, so you have a lot less anxiety. Like it's basically gone. Like I don't really have any anxiety about subscribers, viewership, donations. I know when I deliver good content, the people are gonna come back. That's like the thing that has been established now, and it's very nice to have. If I make good stuff, people are gonna come back, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. And that's kind of how you do it all, because you're in somewhat of a safe place, and you can create things that you like, people that your community likes, and it is really the passion. If you have the passion for it, you're gonna put in the time voluntarily. Like you don't have to force yourself. It doesn't feel like work. It hasn't felt like work in a very long time. I mean, a few things feel like work, like writing. Writing up a contract for a sponsorship, or filling stuff out, and writing a piece for someone. There's still some work in it, but you just do it because at the end of the day it's all worth it, and it's just such a small fraction that it feels like work, and all the rest of it is just play and fun and just passion. And there's really the work part has become very, very small, and it's just having fun for myself, for my community, and just enjoying it.
Nice. I love that. Another fan question, and then we'll switch over to the live chat. When are you going to race in the Need for Speed League?
I don't know what that is.
Oh.
I think I know what it is. I think it's just people speedrunning Most Wanted, but I'm not sure about that. The thing is, I always keep myself busy. There's so much stuff that I always do. There's always something to do. And as I said, it's about passion. Like I like to load myself up with work. I just love doing. If I'm not doing, I feel empty. I need to do stuff. And that's definitely a part of success. Like just finding another piece of thing that you can do and that you can expand on, that you can learn. And I really do have that mindset of I need to do something right now. There is something to do. I know there's something on my to-do list. And if not, I need to put something on my to-do list right now.
Yeah, I love it. All right, let's see. Any questions? Also, if you see any that you want to answer, go ahead and read them out. Oh, here's one. All right, for Kuru, which one of the classic Need for Speed games before 2008 aged the best in your opinion?
I mean, there's a lot of games that I really love in that era. So Need for Speed 4, High Stakes, Need for Speed Porsche, Hot Pursuit 2, also very good. To be honest, pretty much anything starting from High Stakes, Porsche, Hot Pursuit, Underground 2, Most Wanted, Carbon Pro Street. Like it's like every single game starting from there on. Like I even like Need for Speed 1, 2, and 3. I just think that it really gets good with High Stakes. I do like Need for Speed 2. I do like Need for Speed 1. I do like Need for Speed 3. But the thing is, High Stakes is basically Need for Speed 3 plus extra content. So I will always pick Need for Speed 4 over 3 because it's the entirety of 3 plus more. And then you have like Need for Speed 1 and 2, which are also really good. But honestly, those are all really good games. For me, it went south with Undercover because it was extremely underproduced. They had a good story, but the game itself looked like crap. Like the graphic was absolutely terrible, which is funny because they actually took the graphics from Pro Street and made them worse. They just put a whole bunch of graphical effects on it, ruined the handling, ruined the graphics, and it was just a mess overall. And that is really where the decline started for me personally. Everything until Pro Street was really good. I really enjoyed it. And then Undercover came out and it crushed my world a little bit, honestly. Undercover came out and I hated it with a passion. I was like, what is this? This is not the Need for Speed that I know. And I was angry. I was angry at the game. I was disappointed. It was a little bit of my heart breaking and my world falling apart. It was really, really bad. If you're used to a really high level of quality from a game, and then it's all gone. One game to the next, it hurt. It really did.
Yeah.
Undercover broke me, exactly.
Peter asks, what would you do if streaming is someday, for some reason, no option for you to earn money?
I mean, at a first measure, I would just going back to being a biochemist. Like that's something I studied. Like if I want to get a job in biochemistry in pharmaceuticals, like it's like this, I just write up a CV, and I'm gonna get a job because those jobs are still highly in demand. So on a short notice, I would do that just to earn money. And then I would probably do the same thing that I did with YouTube. Like I'm going to do that job until I can establish myself into something else I'm passionate about. Right. Like I'm just going to do the job, earn the money, pay the bills. But at the same time, a regular 9-to-5 gives you a lot of free time to pursue something else. Like once you're done with the job, you can do something else. Like when I was working my first 9-to-5, I played World of Warcraft. Like I came back from home, and then I still had 6 hours or so to play World of Warcraft and get really good at it too, because that is my very first content on my YouTube channel. It's World of Warcraft. That's what I did back then in 2009. I got my first job, and after my job, go straight into World of Warcraft and be good there. You just have a bunch of time. You get a 9-to-5. The world is really open to whatever you want it to be. Like you just take that extra time that you have after your regular 9-to-5, you pay the bills, and then you do what you're passionate about, or you try to figure out what you're passionate about. If you're really lucky, you have someone in your family that will feed you through it, so you don't have to take that 9-to-5. You can immediately work on the thing that you want to become and want to learn, want to be, right? That's even better. Like if you have that opportunity, take it. There's definitely a lot of people that take it for granted, and then they do nothing with that opportunity of being fed by your family and just not having to worry about getting a job and actually paying bills. If you're in that situation, you must take advantage of it. Like I did a little bit, honestly. When I was done with school, I had that where I had that 1 year of not working and not being in school and just living with my parents and trying to figure out life a little bit for myself, just trying a few things, learning something new. I mean, definitely half of that time I wasted, but I think I needed to. Right after I was done with school, I just needed to do nothing for a while, just wasting the time and seeing what it feels like. And then you're like, this is kind of boring after half a year too. And then you start actually learning and doing something else. Right. And what was the original question?
Like if
I got sidetracked. What I would do. Yeah, exactly. So it would basically be figuring out what I want to do next. Mm-hmm. Like if I couldn't be streaming, YouTubing anymore, I would just go back to a regular job and,
work for a gaming company.
Yeah, like exactly like what I mentioned earlier. I would love to be an advisor for games to make sure that the game that they're bringing out is at the highest possible level. They have a certain amount of resources and would love to help them manage those resources to make sure that the game that comes out at the end of the day is the best possible version of it.
Well, doing that and being a game tester, I'm sure.
Exactly. Like, I mean, that comes with the job too. Like you have to play it in order to judge the game and say what needs to be improved. Yeah. It's not necessarily, a game test itself where you try to find bugs, but you just play the game so you can understand what the game is, what it feels like, how it plays, and what you can improve. I mean, that's what I do right now with any game that I play. Like I play it, I take it in, and then I'm like, okay, they could have done this better. They could have done that. They could have actually taken the element from the last game that they had and put it into the new game, like missed opportunities and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like at this point, I've played hundreds of racing games. Like I know what I'm talking about.
That's awesome. All right. Just take a few more questions. Do you play other games that aren't racing games off camera?
Right now? Hearthstone and Rocket League, but that has been, you know, a recurring theme for me. Like I just enjoy like a game or two of Rocket League, or 8 when I get really annoyed by losing, that I just keep playing until I win. And Hearthstone is really a game that I just play while I'm eating food. It's a card game. In case you're wondering, it's a collectible card game that you play on the PC. So that's what I just do to relax. That's like my, you know, my comfort zone game that I just play, and I don't even need to win to enjoy it. I just play cards. And, you know, it started with Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon collectible card game, you know, where I just played card games, and it's still a thing for me. Magic I played too. So that's still a thing. Hearthstone, and, you know, some Rocket League in there.
Nice. We have a question. Will Cross and his partner, that's me, be on the list for Pepega Mod Volume 2?
So I honestly cannot tell you, because I'm not developing the mod myself.
Okay.
I just play it. And because I do want to experience it for the first time myself too. Like I want to be surprised. I don't want to know what they're working on. I want it to be a new experience. And it really was. Like when I played the Pepega mod for the first time, I knew nothing that was coming my way. And that's the best, because you all like, everyone had that first expression with me, like the first experience of the game, and, you know, living it for the first time. It was amazing, because it was a genuine reaction. It was the first time I saw it, the first time I laughed at that joke. You know, it was really, really good and very enjoyable. It felt like a new game. And we all want like another version of Most Wanted, really.
Which content creator, if any, inspired you to become a streamer?
Yeah, I mentioned that shortly earlier. So Joshimus was one of the speedrunners and Twitch streamers that I watched a lot. There were 2 more Twitch streamers that stopped streaming since then. It was Siglamic, a Super Mario 64 speedrunner, and Cosmo Wright, which was a Wind Waker and a Legend of Zelda Wind Waker speedrunner. So yeah, once again, like Nintendo games, like that's the stuff I grew up with. So I loved watching speedruns of those games. Mm-hmm. And then there was also Joshimus, which was doing Grand Theft Auto GTA speedruns. And also at one day, like I was following him and I saw him play Blur. I was like, wow, that's my game, man. He's speedrunning my game. And then, yeah, he did a run. It lasted about 4 hours. And then I beat him by over an hour. And I cut the 3 hours on the same speedrun. And that was like my introduction to speedrunning, as I mentioned earlier in the cast.
All right. We've had you for a while, so we'll just take a couple more. Out of all the Need for Speed games, except Most Wanted, which is great, you want remastered or remade the most?
Okay, so I don't really care too much about remasters, but because a remaster is basically the same game in a higher resolution, so it's not really that good. A remake basically takes the original game and recreates the graphics while keeping the physics and the original feel intact. So I would rather want a remake. And there are 2 games that I really want to see a remake of, maybe 3. Need for Speed High Stakes, Need for Speed Porsche, and Need for Speed Underground. Mm-hmm. Or Underground 2 in that case. Like both would be fine for me. And yeah, you took Most Wanted out, so maybe Carbon 2. Like anything really that was made Pro Street and before. Like every Need for Speed, from Need for Speed 1 all the way to Need for Speed Pro Street, all of those games are masterpieces that are worth remaking.
Have you ever joined the street racing scene? And if yes, have you ever had some moments?
No, I never, to be honest, I never really looked it up either. Like I have no idea what kind of underground racing scene is going on in Vienna. Uh-huh. I honestly never looked into it. It might be going on. It might not be going on. There might be absolutely nothing here. I actually don't know because, you know, once I got heavily into streaming, like I'm very careful with my time, like what I spend time with. And it wasn't really on my mind in one of the things that I want to do and what I want to invest time in. I'm actually do that tomorrow, see what I can find. But obviously it's legal, so it's probably not going to be easy to find if it exists. But I'll let you know. I'll let you know if I find something.
Okay, I've had you for a very long time. Do you have any message to the fans?
As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's a blast. We have been doing that for 4 years now. Like, I just recently celebrated my 4-year partnership on Twitch, where you get the subscriber button, which is it was a pretty big thing 4 years ago. And yeah, so big shouts to everyone that was with me along the way. It has been quite a journey. Definitely looking forward to the next 4 years. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of memories to be made, things to do. And yeah, it's going to be fun.
Do you have any announcements, things that the fans should look out for?
Other than, the racing marathon is going heavily. Today we had day 23. Last year we did 123 days. I'm going to try to break that streak and go for even more days this year. Yeah. At the very longest, I could go all the way until September 1st when the Need for Speed Marathon comes back, because that's always a September 1st start where we do the Need for Speed Marathon again. It's going to be the 4th one this year, right? Let me think. 18, 19, 20, 21, yeah. It's going to be the 4th one already. It's crazy.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you. That wraps up our show for today. Please be sure and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel and share this stream so others can enjoy this as well. Special thanks to my featured guest, KuruHS. Thank you so much for being on the show. I know the fans love you and are excited to see you here. You have been a fantastic guest and you are most welcome on the show anytime. Thank you all for joining us today. If you want more Need for Speed content, please check out my other Need for Speed videos and actor interviews. You can find those vids and more on my channel. And I have other videos coming soon, including, announcement time, next week, Saturday, March 6th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Join me here for a special live stream interview with video game writer Adrian Vershinin, who wrote 3 Need for Speed games, including Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. He also wrote 5 Battlefield games, Star Wars Battlefront, and much, much more. So please subscribe because you don't want to miss a thing. For the fans, if you would like to stay connected, I've put links in the description box below. Also, if you want autographed headshots, video shoutouts, or want to hang out with me one-on-one on Zoom, you can find me on Jemmy, which is just like Cameo. You can find me on jemmy.app/Simone Bailey. That link is down below as well. I hope you guys stay healthy and safe. Keep the faith. Till next time, drive safely, be kind, and keep playing Need for Speed. Take care, everyone. Big hugs. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.